What's up, everybody? Welcome to Shared Screens Elite Four, Shared Screens' only Pokemon exclusive show here on the Shared Screens Podcasting Network. I'm your host, Jordan Deeve, and joining me today, we got He's Electric, Austin J. Ernst.
Oh, hello. I'm electric, apparently. What's up?
And then we've got He's on Fire, Alec Bobko.
Oh no, I'm on fire.
You're not on fire, Ricky Bobby.
And he's dragging these nuts across your face. It's Rumble Pack 92,
What
aka Chris LePack.
up?
I started for Alex because I was like, I need to do the dragon one, but fuck, I didn't think of a third.
About to give a whole new definition of dragon rage.
Hey, yo.
No!
So,
Oh my god.
today is a very special episode because we are going to go all in on Pokemon Legends ZA, Z-A, Z-A, Pokemon ZA is personally how I'm going with it. Not even ZA. I'm pronouncing it like that Vine with the ZA. Is it real? So to me, it's Pokemon ZA. So we're going in with speculations, theories, predictions, all that good stuff. However, and I surprised you guys with this, so don't act like you should have prepared something. While we don't normally do icebreakers on episodes that aren't Road to Victory episodes, and if you don't know, Road to Victory is our series where we meet with other content creators and ask for their dream Pokemon game, I did want to have a quick, smaller, let's call it a ice discussion rather than an icebreaker, you know?
Sure, why not?
Ice discussion.
It is March 2024. This marks 1 year since Ash Ketchum has left the anime. Now, we didn't have this show this time last year, and we also started the show literally right after the last episodes came to America. So I felt like this was as good a time as ever to bring it up because it is a huge thing, and I've been crying about it for a year plus. But I did just want to ask you guys, like, whether you want to talk about, like, from when you heard the news of him being written off late 2022, or maybe just your personal memories of Ash, or almost just even what it means for him to have, like, been sent off. Like, I would just love to hear your guys' kind of Ash memoriam, since we've never really gotten another place to do it. But Alec, let's start with you.
Yeah, so I mean, Ash is just one of those things. Like, that's one of the earliest shows I can remember watching, if I'm being honest.
Mhm.
Like that Power Rangers, the animated Spider-Man show, like kind of like that realm.
Yeah. Sure.
And so it's been kind of crazy to think about. Like, they actually had him win it all and go out on top, and then they gave him even a little epilogue of like kind of him just going around the region basking in his victory. And
I've said it before, but those last 12 episodes, like that little offshoot where Brock and Misty come back, it's literally him fucking around in the post game, but like I mean that as like the best compliment I can mean.
Oh yeah. But yeah, I mean, I haven't seen the episodes, but I've just seen clips of them online, and it's like just that final battle. Like, you just get chills every time it comes across my For You page on TikTok.
It's so fucking good. Austin, how about you?
Ash is just like synonymous to me with just like growing up as a child, and I'm glad he finally gets the right to age. You know,
come out of that coma.
It was one of those things because I fell off hard. Like, I don't even know,
Same.
but like way long time ago. And as someone who hadn't watched the show for a minute, when I read that headline, I did get a little teary eyed. You know, it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, it's time. But it was like almost happy tears in a way. It's like, yeah, I hope they do him justice, because like I can't say that necessarily did him right the entirety of the show. I won't go that far, but I do think from what you have told me and from what I've seen of the episodes that like they definitely gave him a proper send off. So like that, yep. I'm happy with that as like the final product, if that makes sense.
Pokemon Masters, as you know, I kind of really came back to Masters just because Ash was written off. I think I tried to watch it originally when it was coming to Netflix in 2020, but like I never stuck with it. But I came back just for that. So like I never really kept up with most of the middle seasons of the different regions. But it's, in some ways, it really feels like they knew it was going to be a legacy season from the get-go. But then it also feels like in some aspects they didn't go far enough with it, or like that there's more they could have done. And I wonder if part of it was like, well, we don't want to say it. We don't want to make it too obvious it's a legacy season type of thing. To me, the biggest the biggest thing they miss, just because it's so glaringly obvious, is Ash goes back and meets with literally every single one of his companions at some point in Masters, except for May/Max. And apparently, I think the reason for that is the Japanese voice actress ended up she's lost her voice in the years since those lines were originally recorded. And from my understanding of what I've read in different forums, it's like Japan doesn't do recasts the same way. It's much more of a bigger deal to recast somebody. Personally, I would have written something in with like Max and maybe done like just taken archived or lines out of context and re-edited them for maybe May to say a few things here and there. But that was the big one. But no, like if you ever get the chance, you're just bored, I'd say like give Masters a shot. Maybe even just like look at a filler list and skip that.
That's fair.
Yeah. Chris, how about you?
For me, I mean, I like the way that you put it, Austin, where like Ash was just kind of synonymous with growing up. I mean, being the oldest one here, right? Ash was also kind of like, for a lot of people my age, it was a lot of our like initial exposure to Pokemon, right? Like I think I saw like an episode of the cartoon before I played the game. Whether I did or not, I really honestly don't remember. There's kind of not a point in my life where I don't remember like Pokemon kind of being prevalent. But obviously, you know, for a kid that was about like 7-8 years old, like turning 10, hitting that age, and seeing those things, being like, I'm 10 years old, I can go be a Pokemon master, and seeing Ash do that was always the reason. Pokemon Yellow was my favorite as a kid because it was the one that was the most like the show. You know, Team Rocket in it, Pikachu follows you just like he follows Ash in the show, that sort of thing, and so I really like that. I did also fall off of the show around the Ruby Sapphire era, just because I was getting a little older. There was just kind of other stuff going on. I kept playing the games and stuff, but I just kind of didn't really care about following Pokemon too much, especially because that's around the time that in the US Toonami was really taking off, and I was getting really into like Naruto and Prince of Tennis and Toonami and all of these other things that are happening at the time, right? It wasn't until my younger brother started getting older, and I caught him watching the show like one Saturday morning around like the Black White era, and I was like, Ash is still 10 years old. You know, and that's when I started like finding all the memes of him being like, man, Ash has been 10 years old for like 20 years. And always having that discussion kind of with some of my friends of being like, the Pokemon games have always been better than the Digimon ones, but the Digimon anime gets extra points for letting their cast grow up and telling stories as Ash got older. So you flash forward all the way to recently, and I see ESPN of all people like tweeting about how Ash has finally won the Pokemon Championship. He is a master. He has won the league, and I sat there and I was like, man, that actually, I was like that kind of hit me for a second. I was like, oh my god, he did it.
Nope.
You know, they finally let him do it. And I went and watched the episode too.
Of all places is where I found it.
Yeah, it was ESPN that showed me, and so I immediately like go and track down the footage of it. And they, during the fight with Leon, they're even playing the original Pokemon theme, during the battle. The animation is gorgeous. It was one of the things where I was like, man, I should watch the newer stuff. It's really, 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 really pretty now. And so it's not long after that where the news comes out from the Japanese side that like we're hanging it up. Ash is done. We're moving on. And like for me, it's sad in a way to have this sort of like bastion of my childhood that's been around for such a long time kind of leave, but it also has that sort of thing like good, you know. I honestly kind of think they should have let him retire a long time ago. Digimon did it, Yu-Gi-Oh did it, like Naruto did it. Like it's like let new characters come in and take that place, and let him stand as kind of like a legend of the genre almost.
I mean,
but let the past die.
You brought up,
if you have to.
You brought up Naruto, and even with the new like Boruto shows, like Naruto is still a prevalent character in that, but it's not about him.
Yeah, it's
so like they could have easily done something like that.
You can make Ash older, like the Digimon shows, like even has like season like 2 of Digimon takes place like a few years after the first one, and so some of the kids from the first one are like teenagers now, and they come back. There's a whole series it was I think it was like a set of movies. I can't remember if it was a series or movies like Digimon Try, where like they're all like
Oh
in
yeah.
college. They're adults at this
Hmm.
point.
Mhm.
Uh, and I've always thought, man, it would be really cool to see to now that he has done it and completed the league. It's like I hope that sometime that maybe in a few years, like we get a story where we see Ash return. He's older. He is a Pokemon master at this
Mhm.
point, right? And let that be, but not have, but sort of like the Boruto thing. He should be the focus of it.
Mhm.
I
All of
agree.
all of this to say, I mean, it's I love Ash. I was very sad to hear like, man, they're finally doing it. But then I was like, yeah, like that. It feels right. I think it's time.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Mhm. It's overdue,
Yeah,
and it was well deserved too. So
I mean, you guys said so much that like I want to touch on. I'll make it as fast as I can. All the memes about him being like, oh, he sucks, and oh, also like he doesn't age and all that. Part one also like no one's fucking looking at Bart Simpson, who's been younger for a longer time.
oh for sure.
But
well,
and then there's like
I can already fight that, but that's fine.
Well, it also comes into the weird thing of that it's like you'd have episodes in later seasons where like he does meet like some of his older Pokemon and stuff like from the first
Mhm.
season. Like this one where like Butterfree comes back or whatever, but and it clearly shows that there has been time past. He's
Yep.
still 10.
yeah, it's funny they do that in Legends where like I said, he meets with every one of his companions, right? So it's like when he goes in and
Yeah.
met up with like Brock or Serena, he'd say to like the new characters, be like, they were my traveling partners a long time ago. Like they always just say a while back or a long time ago. There's
Yeah.
never the mention of like
Actual
Any
an
time.
action of
any
time.
function of time,
Yeah.
measurement of time.
And funny enough, Pokemon measuring time in weird ways will come into play. I think when we're talking about Legends,
Yeah.
but
Mhm.
Yeah.
I did also understand that like Ash was meant to be the p- person's like entryway into the series for the kid who was too young
Yeah.
to play the games but old enough to understand Pokemon, and you start shooting the little creatures at them from a young age, right? You ingrain that into them. And so I almost understood his role being like, yeah, maybe he'll never win, but like if he's happy going on these adventures, like I started going the other way on him being like evergreen of like, no, I almost appreciate it to the
Yeah.
point that like Ash is a very unique fictional character in my mind where when I think about other like franchises I was into since I was a little young, like two that come to mind that I could compare with Pokemon of just like me progressing and them still having opinions on them would be like Spider-Man and Harry Potter, but obligatory fuck J.K. Rowling. Where it's like, okay, I was a child when the Toby movies came out. And so like to me, he seemed like such an adult, right? Okay, the Andrew movies came
Well,
out,
it's
I was the
because he was
same
like a
age.
30-year-old portraying a
No,
19-year-old
even
kid.
just
But
the
I mean,
fact that like when
whatever.
you're 5 and you hear about somebody in college, you're like that's an adult. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
then by the time the Tom movies came out, I'm older than Spider-Man. It's like, okay, but there's still like a level, like a range to it. And then with Harry Potter, it's like he was actually older than me basically the entire time until the movies came out. Then I was just a little bit younger, and now I'm older than we ever see him, but like about a 10 to 11 year difference, right? Ash is like the only character where it's like, as a kid, I thought he was so much older. Then I became his age. Then I became older. Now he's like legitimately old enough, or I'm legitimately old enough to be his father. I'd be a young dad, but like if he's only 10, and it's such a weird thing where it's like he's just always been around, and like to the point that like when I heard he like was being written off the show, there was like this weird part of me that's like, no one in my family's gonna know about this, but like they know who Ash is. Should I tell them? Like almost to be like, hey, like as if he was a distant cousin, you know?
Hmm.
And so like it's just like this really weird thing. But I've also talked about I would love to be a fly in the writer's room when they were making this decision. Because I want to know, like, did they feel like because the show almost always mimicked the games a little bit, and in Alola you become the first champion, so they mimicked that by making Ash become the Alola champion. Did they have a meeting where they went, "Fuck, we've really written ourselves into a corner. He has nowhere to go but up. We have to retire him," or did they want to retire him sooner, but they felt like he couldn't make a giant jump, so they had him win the Alola championship first? I just think that when you're choosing to retire a character that's been around that long, and for the purpose of being the entryway into the franchise, that's not a decision that goes over lightly.
I think when you're trying to do a legacy character like Ash, right, it takes time. So I think they probably had the writing on the wall per se for retiring him, and it probably took years to either literally just to get the writers to agree on something, and then getting that to set into motion takes time, I assume. So I guarantee you that decision was made probably like nearing double-digit years ago. Not exactly like the exact plan, but I would not
somebody
shock me if like
threw the idea out there.
it would not shock me if the wheels were turning 10 to 15 years ago about retiring Ash.
Then I want to be the world's longest lived fly, and I want to sit on that fucking wall.
But I do I do want to say that because Chris brought up earlier where he said like when you eventually saw like your brother watching the show again, you were like, he's still 10. Like when you're old enough to say he's still 10, the show is no longer for you. And I think that's why it made sense that he was still 10 because I mean, not made sense, but you know what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
Because at that point that like Jordan brought up, it's for kids to like put themselves in those shoes. So even though it's weird and it is fucking weird, at that point, once you're old enough to realize that and have had him as a character for that long, the show is just no longer made for you.
Sure, and I mean, Pokemon as an anime, it was also never like it's not Dragon Ball Z. You know, there's not like a clear third line. It's not the most serious thing in the world to where it's this sort of mix between it's like yes, it is a sequential thing and there is a timeline to it, but it is also kind of like sitcom-y in where like after a little while, like the status quo is always reset. You know. As much as things change, they also stay the same. Yeah, like between like generations, basically, it'll be new content, new Pokemon, new characters, all these things. But like Ash is new there, Pikachu is there, Pokemon. like it's still and like we're just running a new adventure. Yeah, he might talk about Misty before, even though she's gone, but like it's still kind of this reset thing. Like you couldn't shake it up too much because it is designed to be kind of that access point, that entryway for kids to kind of see and then be able to experience the world.
And I did really like that they didn't give him a definitive ending. Part of me thinks that's a safety net in case like the newest anime was like horribly received. They're like, fuck, we got to go back to the 10-year-old.
All right, we're bringing Ash back.
Basically,
if they do bring Ash back, they better fucking age him. I'm saying this right now, and I know I just said it's not for us, but like after the gap, age him.
I have an idea that they wanted to end it at least as soon as they could. I guess after he made the champion. Because I think they probably want to do something to bring him back for like the 30th anniversary of Pokemon.
I can see
that year.
I will say, as somebody who's now watched the first 12 episodes of the new anime after it's come to America, Freed seems like they went, let's not make him grown up Ash, but like he's he's gonna be. If Ash was a grown up, this is probably what he'd be like. Like truly is the vibes I get. But we've talked about Ash long enough. It is now time for us to give our speculation, predictions, ideas, all that good stuff for Pokemon Legends ZA, or as I was saying before, ZA. Now,
Zaza.
I was caught so fucking off guard when this was announced on Pokemon Day, as we all were. You can check out our reactions.
I wasn't on content. I saw it beforehand.
Yeah. But so I kind of want to start with just this. We have our second Legends game announced. And we've now, I think, learned a couple things about the Legends series of games. One, their orders do not necessarily have to line up with what the next remake is. Secondly, the Legends are not just going to be games that tell the story of legendaries. I mean, I'm sure legendaries are going to be involved in it. Z is definitely supposed to be Zygarde, but they're mainline games. Legendaries are always involved, but Arceus was very much a learn the true story of Arceus, or like the whole central thing revolved around him. Now we're learning Legends can kind of just be a story in the past in the Pokemon world, and like it doesn't really have to have a grander myth to it. You know, this is just supposed to be the urban development plan for Lumiose City, and that's the game. So that is already really cool. I mean, I would love to hear your guys' thoughts on just like the Legends franchise now that we know ZA is the next game.
In terms of lore, like the lore and like the story of the game, that was never really what was the driving force for me. And I said this when we talked about Arceus in the past on content, but like the thing that brought me to the Legends Arceus was the change in formula for the gameplay. And as long as they continue that and still kind of iterate on that, honestly, like lore wise, it's really just set dressing. But like, yes, I am intrigued that they didn't like start a pattern, because Pokemon is kind of like all about regurgitating the same thing, just like different again. So I am intrigued, and like you said, they didn't even follow the pattern of like the current remake. They didn't follow the pattern of like the just Legend Arceus, but like swap out Arceus with another one. Like I'm glad that we're getting more of a creative like endeavor here with that, and with it being about the city. This isn't in terms of lore, but just in terms of like speculation, like was it a theory or a rumor that it's like there's a city builder element? Because I think that would fit in a Pokemon game, but I don't know if I want that.
That was gonna be one of my like kind of like theories or speculation, is just like, what if the Legends games are just a pure spin-off? Like Legends Arceus happened to be about catching and making the Pokedex. What if this one's just a pure city builder with Pokemon, like a Pokemon skin on it?
If that's it, then I hate it. But
I'm
if
just saying,
it's like a small part of the game, sure.
I mean, when
I don't know that it'll come down to so much as like we're designing Lumio City or whatever, but I do think that the game is, as the game goes on, we're going to see the city expand, like you know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah, because like the trailer, like one of the first things we see is this file. It's like city development program or whatever
I
it
did
was.
watch. So something important to note is that trailer, it does say redevelopment, urban redevelopment.
True.
So.
True, and so my theory is that I think Lumio City does exist at this point. What I think it is, is that as the game goes on, it's going to turn into the Lumio City as we see it in X and Y.
Yep.
Like by the end of it.
Mm-hmm.
Or another kind of, I guess, theory, speculation thing I was working on or thinking about today in preparation for this podcast. There's what they call the Lumios Badlands, like the desert area in X and Y.
Mm-hmm.
We never got to know what was behind that door. Like they just show the kind of some crazy futuristic spire kind of thing. What if that's what we're redeveloping? We're redeveloping kind of like a newer version of Lumios City, and it's like Neo Lumios City, or something crazy, like like it's all underground. And that spire's like the top of the tower or something.
Lumios
like
ZA.
Lumiosa.
Yeah, exactly. Spell it out.
Like the whole thing, like rewatching that trailer, it's like it really stuck out to me. The redevelopment, urban redevelopment. That's
a good point.
We're not actually like developing a whole new city. We're redeveloping something. So.
I think that's just verbiage for like construction and stuff, but I could be wrong.
Oh, so the redevelopment stuff is a good. The phrase redevelopment, it was a key thing when I was looking into where the game could be. But like, do we have any more comments on just like the legend stuff or smaller predictions? Or we want to get into like the meteor ones.
I don't know if I have a meteor one, if I'm being honest.
I know Alec does. I've been waiting to hear what he put in that notes app all day when I read that.
Well, that's what I was saying. The whole like locked door, like the whole like futuristic Lumios, like the Neo Lumio, whatever I was calling it. Like they teased us with that locked door. Like we got to know what's behind that locked door.
I mean, before we even, I guess, get into the deeper stuff, the other thing about this Legends game in particular is we know Kalos was essentially shafted in some way, right? Like it's the only generation that never got something after the regular dual release, whether it was going to be an X2, a Y2, an Ultra X, and Ultra Y, or just a Z, which I think the most evidence points towards it being Pokemon Z.
Oh, yeah.
Just another traditional third version. We just know it never got that. And so for this game to be Pokemon Legends Z, they surprised us with the A, but Pokemon, basically they're trying to say this is gonna be Pokemon Z in some ways. Like this is really a chance for us to get back, maybe add a lot more context to Kalos that we should have gotten 8 years ago, considering those games just came out a little over 10, right? So like you imagine like 2 years later.
Yeah,
but
sure.
Do you have more? Do you have more to yours, Alec?
It wasn't really that, because like the kind of joke when I was talking about earlier was the whole just what if it's just a city builder game?
Gotcha.
Like,
Yeah, I would hate that. Hate it.
honestly, but then I like the other kind of like other speculation was like kind of like what we had all kind of mentioned at some point is like maybe having aspects of a city, not like entirely a city builder, but like you're upgrading kind of portions of Lumios, or like you start with the tower, then it kind of keeps spreading out from there, kind of a thing.
Give me small elements that are minus the debt, but small elements of like Animal Crossing, but Pokemon. I think that would fit better in a Pokemon game, but that's just me.
I could see both, like a Pokemon Island builder, but also like a Pokemon Sim City.
Well, because if you think about it, like, you know, because there's rumors going around, or because I don't know if it was actually confirmed, but it was like stories saying that we're just going to be in Lumio City.
I think that was confirmed. What's funny is it didn't come from Pokemon. It came from the Nintendo tweets. That's like a game that takes place entirely within the confines of Lumio City. And then I think it was confirmed from like other posts on like Pokemon's actual website. But at first it was just coming from Nintendo's tweets. But I'm going to double
I didn't
verify.
realize like, so I didn't realize I actually said like entirely in the like inside of the city, because my thought was, what if it just means that we're not actually like going to other cities, where it's like you're using the routes around, because like since Lumios is kind of like the central point of Kalos, and you have like all those routes kind of branching out.
That's kind of what I think too. Just because like I struggle to come up with a concept for a Pokemon game that at least doesn't have some kind of wilderness in it. Like, where do you catch Pokemon?
Yeah. So the exact tweet is from Nintendo of America. Watch to see the reveal trailer for Pokemon Legends EA, a new adventure set entirely within Lumio City, coming to Nintendo Switch in 2025. Now, in terms of like, can you make a game in one city? Because I know a lot of people were arguing that. It's like, yeah, they're obviously not going to give us a handheld-sized city. This is going to be like a GTA 3, a Cyberpunk 2077. There are plenty of games that take place in the confines.
Yeah, it's going to be much bigger in the game than it did.
Bigger, and it's going to be dense as well.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot more going on.
Yeah. So like that's not the part that gets me. It's kind of what you're saying, Chris, like about the wilderness and how do we catch Pokemon, but like parks, and maybe as you're building, like there's zones that used to be wilderness, but you're taking them over. Or not taking them over, but you're building over them.
Mm-hmm.
Forgive me because I'm stupid. Is this the game that's like Paris?
Yes.
Yep.
Or is it Paris that has the catacombs?
Yes.
I think that could be a thing where like
strictly ghost types.
Well, like you have the entirety of Lumio City or whatever, and then there's like dungeons that could have like grassy areas and stuff like that.
Can you imagine if they just kept it as the catacombs and it's just like the skulls of dead Pokemon like in the walls?
Oh my god, do we get
it's just a skeleton?
Wait, do we get an origin for the ghost girl from X and Y?
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Yo.
Don't give me that.
Oh, but instead of skulls, it's just like unknowns in the wall.
Ooh, yeah.
That imagery is actually really cool.
And all the eyeballs like.
So.
And they're blinking.
No, I hate that. Never mind, I'm out.
Wait
a minute. That's somehow worse.
Biblically accurate unknown. Just hundreds.
Why that grossed me out, but that sentence grossed me out. Anyway,
so. Go ahead, Alec.
I was just gonna say another. I guess just kind of springboarding off another topic. I guess. Any thoughts about AZ and if he's going to be tying into this game at all?
Okay,
for sure. I think so.
So
let's just get into it, Jordan.
Yeah, I think I'm just going to get into my theory because it's kind of all connected. Where if you just need a rehash on Kalos lore, or at least the one that's important. In Kalos, we hear a lot about this Great War, and the Great War also activated the ultimate weapon, which destroyed, I believe it was part of Kalos or something like that. And AZ was the king of that time. He then has stayed alive. I think maybe it's some sort of curse. They also say this war was 3,000 years ago, but time in Pokemon doesn't make any sense, man. So like, sure. It was 3,000 years ago. Yeah. All right, Graham.
And he's also like triple the size of everybody else in X
Yeah, that might be part of the curse for all. Like if he's
every year he grows.
Like here's the thing: if they said that he was 3,000 years old, I'd be like, oh, that's part of the curse he got. But it's like, but the war does not seem like something that happened 3,000 years ago. If that makes sense, like the Kalos he's talking about. So I'm just gonna go ahead and assume that's weird Pokemon stuff. If and you know,
time means nothing in Pokemon.
It's a suggestion. I had one theory and then I did the math and it didn't work. So like I will ignore that. But like, and so
continue.
I'm trying to get my okay. So he was the king. He was forced to stay for all these years as a homeless man. We also know that he had a special Floette that was supposed to be a special event distribution Pokemon that never got released. And the Great War has always intrigued me with this. And, you know, France being, or Kalos being an allegory to France, I always assumed the Great War was supposed to be, you know, not even World War I and II, maybe just kind of in the Pokemon world, it was one war that maybe happened somewhere in between the general time periods that they happened in this timeline. Because, again, not only is time very weird in Pokemon, their history and their culture and their world is like, it's like ours, but it's not 100% like ours.
It's also not the first time that a war has been referenced in Pokemon either. Like I mean, you know, you like Lieutenant Surge and that sort of thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Makes me wonder if it's
the same actually war. Drafted as a teenager to Pokemon Vietnam.
Pokemon Vietnam. Jesus.
He has horrible flashbacks. Everybody, you know, protect our veterans. You don't want to see Lieutenant Surge freak out. Anyway.
Moving on.
So I started then really looking into Paris being rebuilt because we heard redevelopment, right? And I was like, well, Paris, France got fucking hurt during World War II, or maybe they had to rebuild after World War II. And like, there was some, but when I was looking up the rebuilding of Paris, one thing kept coming up.
Can we pause for a second? I love that this podcast made him research World War II and the redevelopment of Paris.
Yes.
Only Pokemon can do that.
I mean, I was a history major. It doesn't take much for me to be like, oh, I wonder if this is connected. But like, I really was, because like, again, Legends Arceus is like generally a feudal Japan.
Right.
And so when I was researching, again, like the rebuilding of Paris, I came across this well-known, I guess to say, event in Paris history, because it literally has its own Wikipedia article and other articles written about it. And it's, I do not know if I'm pronouncing this right, but I believe Haussmann's renovation of Paris. Now, I will just go ahead and straight up read the little intro on Wikipedia for that, because I can't put it any better. But Haussmann's renovation of Paris was a vast public works program commissioned by French Emperor Napoleon and directed by his prefect of the scene, George Eugene Haussmann, but French. I'm just pronouncing it in English. Okay. Between 1853 and 1870, put a star there, because I was confused and had to reread this part a couple times. But it included the demolition of medieval neighborhoods that were deemed overcrowded and unhealthy. It built wider avenues, new parks, new town squares. They annexed the suburbs. It was the construction of the new sewers, the foundations, and the aqueducts. And his work is basically the whole reason Paris has the distinctive look that it does today. So, like, it's not modern Paris, but it's the kind of the foundation of modern Paris, the same way like New York City developed the grid system in the 1800s.
Right. Yep.
Now, here's the thing. Haussmann, who was actually the guy who did it, was only on these projects from 1853 to 1870 because he was dismissed by Napoleon for a different set of reasons. But the work on his projects continued until 1927, and the 1853 to 1927 time period does encompass the building of the Eiffel Tower.
Okay.
Now, Napoleon.
Empoleon?
Yeah.
What you were gonna say?
Empoleon will be coming up. Don't worry about it. Empoleon will be coming up. It's a Pokemon podcast, guys. It's the one time I can get them crossed. But
right.
You know, this is a part of Napoleon's
Very
France,
different.
which also happened right after. I've said it a bunch of times. What's France's 3 top hobbies, guys?
I'm not falling into a trap. I feel like this is a trap. So go ahead.
The French love 3 things: smoking cigarettes, revolutions, and sex with teenagers for some reason. But like, we're here
there's the trap.
We're
there
here
it
to
is.
talk about
There it was,
which is the revolutions. The Great War little slideshow that we see in Pokemon X and Y shows different sets of Pokemon fighting, but there's something interesting. All the Pokemon fighting are Pokemon that could be caught natively in Kalos. They are not Kalos Pokemon inherently, but they are Pokemon that can be found. For example, if you turned up a brand new copy, no hacks, of Pokemon X and Y, you could get all the Pokemon you see in that slideshow. So is it possible that the Great War was a civil war?
Ooh.
And AZ would have been the king that was revolted against.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
And then this
is
leads
it possible? Yeah,
to
yeah, it is.
whoever the Pokemon equivalent to Napoleon is going to rebuild Lumio's city. Because like Chris, you said, we are not building the city from scratch. We are modernizing it. Like the city itself was still there.
Yeah.
So
I don't know how they would tackle that if it's like lore wise why we are rebuilding and make it not weird.
well, so it
That's just
wasn't
me.
rebuilt necessarily because Paris was destroyed in the revolution.
Yeah, I'm
Paris
following
was
that.
just
I'm
deemed
saying
like
in Pokemon lore.
really grimy and unsafe, and so they wanted to make it more palatable. It was kind of like the new government's way to modernize their capital after taking over.
I mean, that's
Well, so
literally all it could be. It's just
in that regard, in the trailer, we do get this one line to where it's like trying to build a city where like people and Pokemon coexist, right? It reminds me a ton of the city that we actually see in the Detective Pikachu movie.
Yeah.
Where Pokemon just live in this city alongside humans, like without necessarily like, requiring trainers or whatever, right?
So this is like the first attempt at that.
Yeah,
essentially.
this is the guy. It's like, hey, we're gonna try and make this a place where not just humans live, but also like Pokemon can exist within it as well.
Yeah, which I think could also go into the aspect of how are we going to catch Pokemon if there's no wild area? If Pokemon are just
out there
living amongst us in the city, I also wouldn't be surprised if maybe it's kind of got like a Pokemon Ranger thing where it's like you're not actually catching the Pokemon, but like if something happens, the
like
Pokemon around you
almost
will help in the moment. Yeah,
I wouldn't like that, but I also kind of like. Go ahead.
Well, I was about to say in that regard though too, I can kind of see how that progression goes, right? To where like as the city gets bigger, as it expands, as you add more stuff to it, that adds to what Pokemon are available within the city to catch or whatever, right? Like,
yeah,
sure.
Like you fix the water system or whatever, or you add like a cool like little river walk with bridges and stuff, and then suddenly Gyarados are available to catch now because they're swimming through the river that you added to the city or whatever.
Yep.
Yeah. And that actually goes into, I think, my last point for the time period stuff of the Legends game, which is I wouldn't be surprised if we actually go through different periods of time and see the progression little by little, because we do see those original sketches, and those sketches are not the medieval designs that they were erasing in Paris. Those were the modern Paris buildings that we see that were built during this time period that I'm referring to, and they've obviously modernized since. It's not still like the 1800s there, but like that iconic look. And I think that the section of the trailer where you see the Pikachu running through like the blue kind of world, that to me read as like these are the blueprints. This is the most idealistic version of this city. Maybe they don't reach that, but maybe we slowly see it progress, and we could see I don't know what they call the Eiffel Tower in Pokemon X, so I'm just going to call it the Eiffel Tower.
I think it's just like the Lumiose Tower.
I think it's Lumiose Tower, like right? Yeah.
But it's not called the Paris Tower. It's called the Eiffel Tower.
This is Pokemon lore, right? Doesn't forget everything you know.
so that's my general prediction for the time period. Now I want to get into. Oh, go ahead.
I always think there's going to be a time element, and every time I think there's going to be a time element, there isn't. There might be a time element to just get you into the game.
I don't even
mean
time travel. I just mean like we know Legends takes place in the past. So like Arceus was feudal Japan.
Sure.
I think this will be in this 1853 to 1927 time period. Really, any time during it.
Yeah, but my question for that would be like, are you a modern character like in that timeline, or is it like Arceus where you're like sent there?
I actually think it makes more sense if you're a person from this time period.
Yeah. And I think that makes more sense too. And some of the theories were like you're literally jumping between time, like, and seeing the city develop like that. I don't think that will be the case, because every time I think something like that's going to happen, it doesn't happen. But
because let me tell you though, working in construction, it doesn't go quick. So there will be time jumps if you need to build entire portions of a city.
You make good money and rip heaters, though. Let me tell you. It's a famous Blake Bortles quote, if you even know who Blake Bortles is.
I do. I have seen The Good Place.
I don't know. I actually don't know that reference.
Oh, really? One of the characters on The Good Place is like obsessed with Blake Bortles.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense now. I was like, was Blake Bortles in that show?
Is Jordan frozen?
Oh no,
I think
Jordan,
so. Maybe.
Jordan. Keep talking about Blake Bortles. That's what people want to hear about, baby.
Time code for that one.
Do you guys know Blake Bortles was a Saint for a while? It happened.
Oh, he's gone.
Saint Bortles.
He was a New Orleans Saint for about 3 weeks.
Oh, different kind of Saint.
Yeah.
The computer restarted.
Fun. Gotta.
Well, we're just recording, so
yeah, it's fine.
I took down the time code when
it was right before 40 minutes.
Yeah, that's why I put 39.50-ish.
So there's a character on the Good Place who, are you familiar with the concept of the Good Place? Like it's heaven, right? Like all the people there are dead. So there's one person in the Good Place who is there, and he pretends like he's a silent monk.
All right, so moving on from like time period stuff, I do also have a couple of predictions as to like the actual, I guess, the Legends part of Legends ZA and like what the Pokemon involved could mean. And so I'm gonna send you guys a couple picks to follow along with what I'm saying.
Ooh,
also,
visual
Alec,
aids.
My real time codes are gone. Can you keep time codes just so I know roughly when to put these up in the edit? Thank you. We had a minor technical difficulty.
No, I didn't.
So first thing I want us to all look at here is the logo, right?
Yeah, I see it. The
So
Z
the A,
looks like it's hugging the A. I know it's a dash, but
the A also looks interesting because to me, the A looks like the ultimate weapon,
cabbage,
more or less, which is what I'm sending now.
Oh, okay.
The A kind of looks like the ultimate weapon.
Yeah.
I can see that. I can see
color
that.
and everything.
Now,
wrong.
I've also felt for a while that the ultimate weapon looks like something else.
And like,
this is where I might have to start explaining some stuff.
Is it a donger?
No, just send you in the chat.
That would be so funny. I'm sorry.
You know what?
I would lose it.
Just fucking. Good thing we're not a real company, or that would definitely get me fired.
I'm waiting this dick pic, Jordan.
It's true. We're a fake company.
Holy shit!
Jesus Christ! What is this?
What did you do?
It's not even clickable.
I don't know why Google.
I'm still scrolling up. I'm not doing this, dude.
Context to the viewers, we record everything in Zencaster, and we can.
It was too long to put in the chat.
There's a chat function, so where we can send each other assets should we need to. Which of course doesn't show up here. And so Jordan tries to send us a link to this image that is just this unbelievably long link that is not clickable.
Don't worry, I sent a new one.
I clicked on a new one and I'm lost.
It's Dick Cheney, Austin.
Oh my god!
I don't know what that man looks like.
That was so much effort for this dumbass joke.
I know. Or because I was trying to get into what I think the ultimate weapon looks like. But before I show you guys that, I'm gonna let you keep thinking it's a donger until I get to the point. Like I said before,
the best
Pokemon, the potential Pokemon Z was shafted, and I feel like the remnants of it was shown most. One in the anime, who's that season or that series, the third season is literally called X, Y, and Z.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And the Alola games, interestingly enough, for some reason have a bunch of Zygarde stuff in the beginning of them, as if they just needed to put it in because they couldn't do it in the third version.
So yeah, we gotta put it somewhere.
And so I wonder if other things were connected to Alola that maybe weren't supposed to be, or if Alola and Kalos now, through the Pokemon lore Bible or whatever, have more of a connection. The ultimate weapon also looks a little bit like Celesteela, the Ultra Beast.
Oh,
Very true.
I feel like this is more
and another thing
than the weapon, but whatever.
Supporting my little theory is
my little theory.
There was a data mine of, I don't
Austin's
remember if it was
today.
7th or 6th gen Pokemon. It must have been 7th gen Pokemon games, I guess, because of Celesteela, where a second form of Celesteela was found to be scrapped. Now, we don't know what it would have been in game, but in the anime, they showed a baby Celesteela that looked like this. Now, while the one I'm sending doesn't actually look like anything, the fact that it's kind of like a pile of leaves and grass is interesting when you notice the roots on the A in Pokemon Legends ZA.
Little mushroom in there, just saying.
And so we know Zygarde's going to be involved in this, but I wonder if we find out maybe
On the head, if
Celesteela
you will.
was the ultimate weapon, and
Okay.
what
Alternate
that could
dimension
mean.
thing. Yeah.
Especially if Celesteela's other form is actually connected to nature in some way, because we do know that Zygarde's whole thing is that he shows up and gets angry due to ecological destruction. Now, what we know in present day is that cities are actually better for carbon footprints than suburban areas, but like maybe the fact that we were just doing all this construction was bad for the environment, and that's something that could aggravate
Industrial
Zygarde.
Revolution. Boom.
Or the different Zygarde cells, and we have Zygarde's forms, the 10%, the 50%, the complete form.
Yep.
One, shout out to the fact that in the anime, this is something I just know through reading about it, not even watching, but in the X and Y anime, that little kid who follows them, Clement's sister, she has a Zygarde cell as a Pokemon, and she calls it Squishy. She calls this fucking giant destructive god Squishy.
As you do.
Yeah. I wonder if maybe there are Zygarde cells scattered throughout the old Lumoy City, and as we keep building and we push them in closer together, suddenly we have a couple Zygarde dogs running around. And then we have the Zygarde 50% forms until we've left them nowhere to go, and he's got to go full 100% form.
So really what you're telling me is that this should have been called Pokemon Legends Squishy? Is that what you're telling me? And then it would have made way more sense. I hate the name ZA. I would take Squishy at this point if I'm being completely honest with you.
How's your legendary Squishy?
Well, you don't want to know.
Zaza.
This is the Pokemon for stoners.
Jesus.
But yeah, so like those are some things I've been putting together. I really wanted this to be the Great War was World War I or /2, or maybe just a placeholder for a generic version of both. And that the rebuilding was going to be much more modern, because there was something about the file types that made it seem like maybe this was mid 20th century, but no, everything I looked into made me think it was going to be about this period of France. And I have felt that Celesteela looks like the ultimate weapon for a while, and this logo has only made me go further down that rabbit hole.
I can see it.
I will say this: if you keep swinging, you're gonna get a hit eventually. So 50% of this theory could be relevant.
Yeah, the good thing is that neither of the stuff is like mutually exclusive to one another.
Sure. But yeah, so I think I like the research you did. I don't know how realistic it is, but I enjoy it.
The thing is, though, the ultimate weapon is not located in Lumiose, so
if they're playing with time, it doesn't have to.
But if we want to know, but like to know that was if the weapon was Celesteela, or because Celesteela is an Ultra Beast, a Celesteela, that doesn't stop another one or the ultimate weapon coming to Lumoise. I always forget the best way to say it.
Lumiose. That's how I've always said it.
Yeah. But yeah, no, that's definitely one aspect of it that I definitely didn't consider until 10 seconds ago.
All right, cool.
I mean, at least in the games like X and Y, like it's big. Like it doesn't look like it's easily movable. Like,
yo, how big that ultimate weapon though?
It's movable. Anything's movable with Pokemon. You just gotta believe.
I mean, it literally like top houses.
Well, you got to get the strength HM first.
True.
Just you have to push it 10,000 times across the map.
Oh, God.
That's the entire game.
Yeah. Does anyone have any other predictions, speculations, even just small things that like you go, I hope this is what happens. I hope this is there.
Let's see. I don't think so. I think we kind of covered stuff that I had.
Yeah, I think
I did say that, and this isn't any kind of prediction or anything, but I don't want to ever see robot Pokemon ever again. So
I'm with you.
that's paradox. Yeah.
I just don't. I'm done with that.
The paradox Pokemon.
I understand we have things like
love
Porygon and Mewtwo in the lore and stuff, but keep it to like organic stuff like that or something. Like that. Don't give me this robotic nonsense. I'm not a fan.
No, I feel that.
That's all I got.
That's good. Anyone else?
What's kind of interesting about it is that it's like, just from what little we have, it's like I genuinely just kind of have no idea. You know what I mean? And
That's
usually you can look at a Pokemon thing and be able to kind of get the general vibe of it. But this one, I'm just like, man, this game could go in any direction.
And I do think part
really
of that is
fun.
because it's a Legends game, and we don't have a pattern of things like we've mentioned in this podcast. Like we don't have a pattern to look at, so like it really could genuinely be anything.
It does almost feel like the thing for Legends is that it's like we don't have to follow any of like the pre-established stuff for these. We can kind of do what we want, and that's really
And I think it worked
too.
super well the first time. So just give me more of playing with the formula, and I'm in.
I feel like once we get once this game comes out, right, we'll have a better idea of like, all right, so what things make a Legends game a Legends game, more or less. Whereas like with the first one, we just assumed, okay, I guess it's all really old stuff about legendaries, and like all the theories were Legends, you know, Kyurem, Legends Ho-Oh, or Legends Celebi. Like there were so many that were like about legendaries, and now it's like you could straight up be like, how about Legends? I don't know, Flannery's Day at the Beach. Fuck it, like it could literally just be whatever.
God, that game would sell millions of copies.
I didn't even think of it like that.
Through the roof. But yeah, to me, like what makes an Arceus game, like what I want out of this is like I want to keep the catching mechanic with like the sneaking on them, and then you have the two different kind of like heavy ball and like the swift ball or whatever the heck it was called. Like I like that aspect of it, and then for me it just felt more of like an actual Pokemon like living breathing world where like it had, I brought this up in the past, where it had like quests that felt like the show. It actually like felt like that instead of just like getting it in text or whatever. Because I know there were attempts of that in the other games, but like this one shows that out in such a unique and creative way that I if you give me the catching mechanic and that in terms of like side stories and stuff like that, then that's all I need.
The first Legends game did do a really good job of making like wild Pokemon feel like genuine threats, right? Because like you could technically fight them without being in a Pokemon battle, right? Like there were a lot of like aggressive Pokemon that would come for you. Yeah, you know, there's like this Pokemon is about to fuck you up.
The Rapidash in that first area,
when that thing first
saw that thing,
or even like Legends Arceus first game to make Paris a fucking threat, and it's not a threat in a Pokemon battle; it's a threat in a fight.
I thought you meant Paris, the country, continent.
What the
country.
what?
Paris. France, whatever, you got me.
We've talked about it the entire podcast, Austin.
Well, you said Paris, and that I still had Paris, the location on the brain, and then I was like, excuse me?
Right. So, lastly, this is a Legends game, and it's a Legends game in Kalos, which means, one, we're going to get an interesting trio of starters, but even more fun, Megas are back. They literally said Megas are back. Now, are they going to be back forever? Probably not. Now we're just kind of admitting that these gimmicks are a rotating door, and we're going to give what Daddy feeds us. But like, all right, they're back for now. Does anybody have any Megas they'd like to see?
I mean, the fan favorite that I've seen going on everywhere that I think is deservedly so is Flygon. Give us a Mega Flygon.
Fair.
Ooh. It's hard to come up with a Pokemon that doesn't have a Mega already that I really want to.
I'm Googling Mega Butterfree, and I don't know if this is real or not.
Butterfree it would make sense because Beedrill got one and Butterfree didn't.
True, yeah.
Give me Mega Butterfree, baby. There's a lot of fan ones, and they all look kind of cool.
You know what? Fuck it. Give us a third Mega Charizard. You know what?
Mega Charizard Z. Fuck it. Mega Charizard Z and Mega Charizard A. Not only you give us 2 Charizard forms, you're implying that there's another 20 that you could.
Yeah, one for every letter of the
every
alphabet.
Letter.
But only Charizard and Mewtwo get them.
The day they announce Mega Charizard Q is the day I stop Pokemon.
I don't, because I like Butterfree. Just give me one for Butterfree. I don't know if that makes any fucking sense for probably not, but I'll be selfish.
Yeah. This is not one of the official ones I want. It's like I'm putting it on the record as I want. I just want to see them give Dragonite one simply for the stone to be named Dragonite.
He does deserve one though. He does deserve a Mega. If I'm being,
I thought of
give him a Mega that doesn't make him look like a little bitch. See, I've never been able to take that Pokemon seriously. I'm gonna be honest. It looks like a Barney character.
I think Dragonair looks cooler, but like,
how dare the both of you?
Dragonaire's cooler.
So, I think there's one that really does deserve because this Pokemon doesn't have an evolution, so a Mega would be perfect. Lapras.
Ooh,
Yeah, Lapras
makes
is a
a lot
good
of sense.
choice.
I thought you were just gonna bring us right on because that's your boy.
If I as I was saying, if I
no, he
wanted
already
to
has
see
an
one,
evolution.
I don't know.
give me
Rhyperior.
Rhyperior.
That's
Give me a Mega Machamp, 6 arms.
Yeah.
Wait, can we just make it an even
can do
8
more.
and then he's also part bug type? Like it's just
Give
like I
him-
still want him to keep the humanoid shape and the legs, but like just have him like
Imagine there's
make
no
him
other
the-
changes to him. It's just 2 more arms.
Give him
No, see, I
8
like that
arms, but
idea.
he actually has 10 arms. But like some of them are itty bitty. There's like
Oh, see, I was just gonna say he has the
ones.
8 arms, but he's crawling like he's a
Anyway.
kid in a horror movie.
God, it
Kill
just looks
me!
Like, there's so many like enemies in Elden Ring that look just like that it's horrible and I hate it.
Right.
So
Yep.
I came up with a list of megas that I'd want to see that are all specifically Unova megas, simply because only Audino, for some reason, was the only Unova Pokemon to get a mega.
Oh.
Vanillish.
Okay. No.
What do you want it to become? An ice cream sundae, Chris?
Mega Vanillite, let's go!
You want to put cherries and banana on it?
Mega Vanillux!
All right. So my Unova megas are Mega Scraggy,
Trubbish.
Yeah.
which I know that there is a difference, like Scraggy to Scrafty, like there is an evolution there, but I don't know why. I feel like Mega Scrafty would be fun if it was just like a group of 3 of them, like a Doug Trio thing. But the idea is like, now you're getting jumped by me and my boys.
Guys, absolutely. It's me and the homies
yeah,
rolling
like
up.
Yeah.
Yep. Like a Scrafty and then 2 Scraggies behind him.
Yeah. Mega Darmanitan, I think, would be a real fun one.
Oh yeah.
Especially if the Mega could shift between Zen mode and stuff. Like if you work that, I think
You almost
that'd
give
be
it
fun.
the stance change like Aegislash has.
Yeah. Mega
Is this-
Gigalith.
Is this the gen that has the freaking womb Pokemon? What's that called?
Musharna, a little fetus.
Yeah, give me a Mega
That's
Machamp.
Gen 5.
Just,
Yeah.
damn it. Just give me that with an actual.
Well,
baby
I'm
in there.
talking about Gen 5 Pokemon.
Oh, okay.
Then I want to have a Mega, yeah. So yeah, Mega Gigalith would come after Mega Darmanitan.
Yeah.
Gigalith is truly my boy. After I played through Black for the first time, like, oh man,
Oh,
I love
yeah.
Gigalith. It's a spider rock, guys. It's a spider rock. What more do you need?
His shiny's really cool too.
Hydreigon would be cool.
Ooh
Just
yeah.
turn or what's the final form of Axew?
I was gonna, yeah, that's on the
Haxorus?
list. Mega Haxorus.
Axorus, yeah.
The
Ooh.
last one, or second to last one, but the last one I'm saving is Mega Galvantula.
Okay.
No, pass. Yeah.
So
You like Vanillite and you don't like Galvantula?
yeah, one of them is a spider.
The other's an
What?
ice cream cone.
Yeah, and the ice cream.
So-
and if you were to be like, "Hey, which do you like more, ice cream cones or spiders?" You're gonna say ice cream cones.
true.
Not for
Yeah, but
a
I've never been in
Pokemon.
a fight and went, man, if only I had an ice cream cone to defend
Have
me
you
right
said
now.
not a spider?
Jordan, I don't normally agree with you on things. I'm with you on this one.
You guys are insane. You're insane.
That was a
people.
backhanded compliment, but it
I'll
was
take
there.
what I can
Normally
get.
you're fucking stupid, but this time I agree.
So,
Broken clock twice a day.
the idea I just had for a Mega would be Arcanine, and then you can make 3 heads and make it Cerberus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then another idea I had, just being whole, Lumios being like, kind of like the, or at least in X and Y was the electric gym and all that. Give Rotom a Mega Evolution, and then he could have like all his different forms have like Megas. Like
His Mega
technology and all
Evolution
that.
should just be like a Megazord made up of all the different appliances, like MacGyver together.
Yes.
It is weird that of all the Megas, there's only 2 electric Megas.
Yeah.
Manectric and Ampharos.
Yeah.
Ampharos, another Pokemon design I feel like people like that is
Or
not that great. I don't know what it's supposed to
Raichu
be.
for a Mega. Like,
The thing
love
is,
Raichu,
I
but
feel like there's a
understand.
higher chance that they break the laws of Megas and give Pikachu a Mega before
yeah,
giving
100%.
I
Raichu
was
a
just say,
Mega.
yeah, Pikachu's for sure more likely. And also, you're not going to get any better than a Alolan Raichu anyway. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Uh,
Or what was the one for a while? Gorochu or whatever it's called?
yeah.
If they ever made a regional Pikachu line, which would be risky, like make Gorochu canon, that'd be fucking cool.
Don't do it. No.
Give a Mega form to sock, but not to throw.
I was thinking
That's
about
what I'm here
that,
for.
and I couldn't pick one, so I was just like, "No, I'm good."
Why one and not the other? Why are you pitting these two queens
Because
against
it
each
would be
other?
funny.
I agree.
And
Ooh.
also, I fucking hate sock and throw, dude. They're so ugly. They're so
Yeah.
dumb. Can't
Wait, you
stand
you
them.
hate throw
It's
and
because
which one?
he likes Machamp too much. and
Sock and throw.
It's solely
Yeah,
his
throw and
name.
which one?
I don't like this.
I'm not.
Nope.
It's. I know what he's doing.
You're in
Are
our
there any-
Discord. You know exactly.
Did we mention Golurk? Is that his name? Like the golem thing?
Oh
Golurk,
yeah,
yeah.
that'd be cool.
I think he just
even
honestly,
if
I
only,
think he just deserves a third evolution. But
even if only just to make my guy more viable, like a Mega Conkeldurr would be really cool too.
Ooh yeah.
Yeah,
that's
I
what
can see
that's why I said Butterfree. So like I can't say shit.
I like if I'm open to a Mega Electivire, but I'm like, I don't want to look at it and be like, look how they massacred my boy. Like, I don't want to risk that.
I know what you mean. Yeah.
Mhm.
They just haven't touched Butterfree in so long. They haven't done
That's
shit.
why. That's why they
They
haven't
gave it
done
a
anything with.
Gigantamax for him.
It's why
I
they
guess
haven't
that's
done
true.
anything with
I hated
Vanillix. It's already
Gigantamax, though.
perfect.
Yeah.
With
Yeah.
who?
I didn't like
With
Gigantamax at
Vanillix,
all.
it's already perfect.
I hate it. I hate it.
So my last one to kind of, I'm guessing, transition to us into kind of the next topic. I think for the starters, they could go one of two ways. Either like follow the traditional, I guess traditional Legends route and give us kind of some regional variants kind of a thing. Or
I do think that will be
of
another
my
staple
thoughts-
of Legends games. But go on.
yeah, my thought, or one of the first thoughts I had, if they don't do that, they give us the Kalos starters, but then they give us the Mega Stones, and the Kalos starters get Megas.
That'd be cool.
Yeah, that's one of the things with the Kalos games where I'm like, you guys pushed Mega Evolution so much, but no Pokemon from this generation gets it, and none of the gym leaders use it.
Yeah,
It's true. It's true.
Yeah. So if they were to do the more traditional ones, Alec, do you have a prediction as to which three they'd go?
that day I did, but I forgot to write them down. I think, what was it like? Oh my gosh, I had it.
Have we seen?
Come back to me.
Have we seen a Mega Blaziken? Because I'm good.
Yes,
I think that exists.
Yeah,
that was actually
That was
in
like
X and
one of the
Y.
first ones they revealed. Yeah.
You guys will learn. I don't know shit. All right. But
Um,
is it dope or is it bad?
it's
Design-wise?
very
It
good.
was fucking
pretty cool.
broken. They had to ban it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
He got
give
that
speed boost off.
Yeah.
makes sense. That makes sense. That
I like to
checks
think
out.
Austin knew all this, but he got so fucking obliterated by a Mega Blaziken in 2013 that he's blocked it out.
right.
He just pushed it into the back of his brain.
Yeah.
That's just the first time popped in my head. I was like, a Pokemon that's cool that deserves one. So I'm glad he got one already.
So the way I looked at the starters I would want is I first went, all right, obviously don't repeat any of the starters from Legends Arceus. Simple
Yep.
enough.
It's the same three every time.
But let's also try not to go with a Hoenn starter or a Kanto starter because they've already gotten Mega Evolutions.
Yep, that was the thought process I went down as well.
But I also think that one Legends thing I think will stay, could be wrong, is a little detail that I thought was fun in Legends Arceus was like, yeah, Piplup, Turtwig, and Chimchar were not your starters, but those Pokemon are found in the wild, and it shows that no, the starter Pokemons are Pokemon that are native to that region, just we just don't ever get access to them. So I didn't want to make it the Kalos starters. I want them to be found around Lumiose City. And so, I'm left with basically eliminating from there a small amount. And then I thought I'd want to kind of somewhat put the France inspiration in there. Hisui didn't really do that with anything specific per se, but like Decidueye's design is a little bit more of like an old fashioned type of like archer look. Samurot's already like based off of Samurai, so just putting him in that time period kind of made sense a little bit. So the three I decided on were Piplup,
I was gonna bring that up.
Napoleon.
Yep, I think that was one of mine. Yep.
Snivy, because it's just very regal and, what are the French if not snobby assholes?
Oh.
And it's Europe, and they all like soccer there, right? So Score Bunny.
I hate it. Don't give Pokemon occupations.
I like Score Bunny.
I don't like.
See, Jordan, I think that was actually like either one, or because I think that was the fire one that I was kind of going between either Litten or Score Bunny.
Litten was my thought too.
Yeah, that makes it because like
Just because, like,
the
what
thing
do
is,
the French do? They smoke cigarettes and hang out with their cats. I don't know.
that's not my quote, and you know it's not my quote.
I was specifically going the other direction.
That was my Blake Bortles quote from earlier that may or may not be in this
May or
recording.
may not have made it into the final
I don't
recording.
know.
We'll find out someday. Yeah, no, I think those would be a really cool set of starters. Also, like each of those forms getting a mega Score Bunny sounds fucking dope, but like I would be most excited in that for a Mega Empoleon.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
I think
Mega Empoleon would be dope.
the two other grass starters I was kind of debating between was either Grookey or Chikorita.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Grookey, I never want in a Legends starter until we someday get a Water Monkey, and then I want a Legends game with Chimchar, Grookey, and whatever the Water Monkey is.
Ooh, yeah.
Same with Fuecoco and Totodile. Give us a Grass Alligator, and then give us a Legends game with those three.
Yep.
Mr. Pokemon, John Pokemon, if you can listen to me. Rotate animals for starters more often, you know?
Bill Mon.
Bill, was that a reference? Was that a reference?
No.
Billmon the
Maybe.
Pokemon. Bill.
Yeah.
Right,
I do
really
want the
losing.
starters to be like interesting though, because like the first time when they did the mashup, I was so intrigued. Even if I didn't like the choices, because I didn't hate the choices. I'm not saying they were bad choices. I just loved the remix of.
Well, because when
past
they
starters.
announced the starters, we didn't know that they'd have a different like regional form. We just knew those were the starters.
And so that's kind of my question though too, is because like that region at the time, it's like we knew it would become Sinnoh later, but at the time it wasn't known as that yet. So it got the Hisuian form designation, right? But this time we know it's Kalos.
Yeah, that's true.
One thing I do think Pokemon's going to be shifting away from soon is the regional variants being known by the regional names, and maybe they're going to start referring to them as a climate, because they've really started to shift the idea that no, the Pokemon aren't evolving differently just because they're on a different point on Earth. It has to actually do with the environment that they're in. And the whole point of Blueberry Academy in the DLC for Scarlet and Violet was like, look, if you catch an Executor if you catch an Execute and evolve it here in the grasslands, it'll become a regular Execute. If you evolve it in the tropical area, it'll become a Alolan Execute. But I think they're going to start referring to them as like a snowy or a tropical or whatever. So, and the reason why I also think Megas rather than like regional variants is because like from what going off how far back feudal Japan was and how far back like my prediction roughly is, there's such a difference between that to present day that I don't know if that would be like enough time for these Pokemon to have shifted their evolutionary lines like that, you know?
Yeah.
Because like evolution takes a while. Like that's like and like with Hisui, it was like, well, these are forms that haven't been seen in 600 years. Like it's like really long. Whereas this one's like, like 150 or so. But yeah.
Yeah. As long as they do a fun remix, I think I'll be happy. It's kind of where my.
So we talked about Legends ZA the whole time, and you wanted to talk about Pokemon Cafe Remix?
Yeah, that's why I'm here. I'm glad we finally got there. Right at the
Wonderful. All right. Well, if you want to hear more about Pokemon Cafe Remix, remember to like, comment, subscribe, and all that good stuff. Because maybe someday, we'll run out of ideas, and that's what we talk about.
I hope not. I'm not showing up.
What are your Pokemon ZA predictions? Let us know in the comments down below or on Twitter, which, by the way, my old one's back. So follow me on Twitter. Follow all of us on Twitter.
Is Chris fainting the slowest I've ever seen? Sorry. Bye.